Good morning. Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill, Unitarian, Universalist, Bikini Bottom campus. I'm Bill Rote, a member of the Worship Associates Ministry. Our minister is Reverend Tom Belote, and our service is led this morning by Reverend Carolyn Price, who is a semi-retired Unitarian Universalist minister, and she and her husband are members here at our church. I especially want to welcome any visitors or newcomers to our church and call your attention to the special note for you, welcome guests and newcomers, on the back side of the order of service. I would also like to welcome those of you attending online. Lyrics to hymns and all elements of the service may be found on the screen, and a complete order of service, including this week's announcements, is available via the link in the Sunday morning email and on the church website. I would like to mention, for those of y'all that are visiting, about Bikini Bottom campus. Our church today is the last performance of the musical SpongeBob SquarePants, and if you haven't seen it, you need to come. It's great. Our in-person Sunday social is held immediately following the service. Please turn off or silence any cell phones during our service to maintain a worshipful experience. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. And now we're going to have a share the plate about Charles House with Eric Leith.
Good morning. I'm Eric Leith, and today's collection will go to the Charles House Center for Community Elder Care. This exceptional day program was started by the family of our first minister, Charlie Jones, over 30 years ago, and has been supported generously by volunteers and donations from the community church ever since. At its facility in northern Chapel Hill, Charles House remains true to its ideal of treating elders with respect while allowing them to safely do all they are capable of doing. This joyful place includes lots of music and dancing, crafts, a delicious lunch, flexible schedules, and a brilliant staff headed by Executive Director Dean Fox and Administrative Director Suzanne Blankford, who are here with us today. And who would enjoy chatting with you over a piece of pie after the service. Charles House programs allow families to work and fulfill other obligations. In addition, Charles House provides support groups for family caregivers, training for student interns, and they welcome elder care professionals from other programs to share methods that make Charles House one of the leading facilities for elder care in the area. They also run a residential facility in Chapel Hill neighborhood. Thank you for your donations, which offer attendance to people who otherwise might not be able to spend fun and rewarding days at Charles House. Please place your donation of cash or check made out to the church with STP in the memo line in the baskets during the offertory. Join us at tabling after the service to meet Dean and Suzanne and to find out about other volunteering opportunities. Or perhaps you have a loved one who would enjoy spending time at Charles House. Thank you.
I am going to recruit George and Linda Thompson. Can y'all come up and be our song leaders? Oh, there she is. Never mind. She was sitting on the front row for the first service. With that being said, would you please rise in body and spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 349, We Gather Together. It is a traditional Dutch hymn from the 1600s, and the words were adapted by Unitarian Universalists Dorothy Singus and Robert Singus for a Thanksgiving service.
We gather together in joyful thanksgiving, acclaiming creation whose bounty we share. Both sorrow and gladness we find now in our living. We sing a hymn of praise to the life that we bear. We gather together to join in the journey, confess become it in our body, a true affirmation in joy and tribulation, when bound to care and hope, then we are free.
Into this community of memory and dreams we come, trusting and uncertain, joyful and with burdened hearts, afraid and courageous, faithful and full of doubt, hurting at the sorrows of the world, the people harmed, the planet harmed. We come to remember the ageless vision of an earth made whole, with all her people one. Brand new this morning, and after 40 years of belonging, we come because this place is our place. These people are our people. And because here, in the shelter of memory and dreams, we can remember who we have been, who we are now, and may yet become. Come, let us worship together. And if you would join with me in the reading of the words for the lighting of the chalice. We are a people of memory, holding the stories of those who have come before us, making stories for those who will come after us. By the light of this chalice, symbol of our common faith, we hallow our time together.
Our first reading this morning is from Anthony Doerr. Every hour, all over the globe, an infinite number of memories disappear. Whole glowing atlases dragged into graves. But during that same hour, children are moving about, surveying territory that seems to them entirely new. They push back the darkness. They scatter memories behind them like breadcrumbs. The world is remade. Each week, we take time in our service to consider the joys and sorrows of the members of this congregation. If you have a specific personal joy or sorrow that you would like to share, please come down to either side, place a stone in the water, come to the microphone and state your name. Remember that we honor our covenant by sharing briefly, no more than 1 or 2 sentences, that we make sure that what we share is appropriate for all ages, and that we refrain from making announcements. May we enter into this time of tenderness together.
My name is Bill Rote, and a member of our church, Eileen Reagan, asked me to let our community know October 29th, she lost one of her sisters, the one that she was closest to, is named Mary, who'd been battling cancer for quite some time. And Eileen, of course, is devastated. This was the sister she was closest to.
Good morning, friends. My name is Tom Belode, and I'm placing this stone at the request of Ruth Gibson, a beloved member of our church. On Monday, Ruth was in a car accident and suffered a broken wrist. She is at home and she is grateful for all of the care and the support of this community. Her being home means that I'm receiving about double the number of emails from her. So.
My name is Laura House, and we're visitors here. This is my daughter, Kaylee. And I want to share a sorrow. My sister is suffering with severe depression and anxiety, and if everyone could please send her some healing energy, we would greatly appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Selden Holt. I place this stone in loving memory of Marie Ling, stepmother of my husband Michael Ling, who passed away 2 weeks ago at age 89, and also sending love and strength to Mike, who has been in Florida for the last 2 weeks trying to handle all her estate and effects and is working very hard. So love to him, and hope he'll come home soon.
My name is Joan Garnett, and I want to share a joy. A long time ago, I expressed a sorrow that a dear friend of mine was struggling with pancreatic cancer. I can say he has undergone Whipple surgery and survived and is recovering and can join us in our Spinoza study again.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Powell, and I have a joy to share. My husband Bill and I attended SpongeBob SquarePants Friday night, and I'm just always amazed at the talent in this church, and you can see by the decorations on the walls, just a fantastic performance. Thank you all that contributed in every way, not just the performers, but the staff and the decorators and all the parents and everybody at the families that participated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a great performance.
A final stone is placed for those joys and sorrows that were not shared but are held in our hearts, that are equally as important and as powerful for us. As we come together this morning, let's consider those who have lost loved ones, those who are struggling with illness, those who have been in accidents or had other difficulties, those that are celebrating milestones, those who are celebrating improved health, and also for the celebration and joy of this community coming together in art and music and dance. It is a blessing and a gift to be with each other, to have people to hold and share those joys with, and to hold and share those sorrows, to carry the burdens for each other sometimes. Let us take a few moments in silence and hold those thoughts with ourselves. Amen.
Will you please remain seated for the singing or meditative hymn, number 16, "'Tis a Gift to be Simple," We'll sing this through 2 times.
Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To learn, turn will be our delight, and by turning, turning we come round right. 'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn, turn will be our delight, and by turning, turning we come round right.
Freely have we received gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. If you wish to donate online, there's a QR code on the back of the order of service, and there's information on the church's website. Today, our generosity extends beyond our walls as we give to today's Share the Plate for the Charles House. Remember that you can donate online, or if you're writing a check for the Charles House, please write either Charles House or STP on the memo line. We will now receive the morning offering.
I've been down this road before. I remember every tree, every single blade of grass holds a special place for me. And I remember every town, every hotel room, and every song I ever sang with the guitar out of tune. I remember everything, things I can't forget. The way you turned and smiled on me the night we first met. And I remember every night your ocean eyes of blue. How I miss you in the morning light, like the roses miss the dew. I've been down this road before, alone as I can be, careful not to let my past go sneaking up on me. Got no future in my happiness, though regrets are very few. Sometimes a little tenderness is the best that I could do. I remember everything, things I can't forget. Swimming pools of butterflies that slip right through the net. And I remember every night your ocean eyes of blue. How I miss you in the morning light, like the roses miss the dew. How I miss you in the morning light, like the roses miss the dew.
Our second reading this morning is from the novelist Salman Rushdie. Memory has its own special kind of truth. It selects, eliminates, alters, exaggerates, minimizes, glorifies, and vilifies. But in the end, it creates its own reality, a varied but usually coherent version of events. And no sane human being ever trusts someone else's version more than his own. Would you please rise in body and spirit as we sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life, the song more than any other Unitarian Universalist know by heart. And please, we're going to sing this through twice. Oh, 3 times.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Roll in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the heavens, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of
I saw some of you during that third time singing Spirit of Life, put your hymnals down. Congratulations. Some among you will remember these words. I had a farm in Africa at the foot of the Ngong Hills. The equator runs across these lands at an altitude of over 6,000 feet. The colors were dry and burnt there like pottery. The views immensely wide. The chief feature of the landscape and of your life in it was the air. Looking back, you are struck by your feeling of having lived for a time up in the air. There you breathed easily, drawing in a vital assurance and a lightness of heart. In the African highlands, you woke up each day and thought, here I am, here where I ought to be. So begins the true story out of Africa, written in 1937 by Karen Blixen, also known as Isaac Dinesen. Following a sheltered upbringing, Blixen took a chance with her life and she moved to Africa, where she grew coffee, fell in love with the people and the animals and the land, faced the difficult end of a marriage, and went on to live out a long and passionate love affair with the well-known bush pilot, Dennis Finch Hatton. After his death, and also a fire that destroyed her farm, Blixen returned to Europe, to the home that she grew up in, where the pencil marks which recorded her growth as a child on the wall still stood. Her last years were spent writing books, one of which gave memory words and allowed her to dwell once more in those high, light-filled air of Africa that she loved so much. Memories often come to us through our senses. For John Prine, who wrote the song, I Remember Everything, that Eric sang for us this morning, it was the sight of those ocean eyes of blue that he never stopped seeing. The author, Jodi Picoult, votes for the sense of sound. She says every life has its soundtrack. There's one tune, she says, every time she hears it, it takes her back to summers she spent on a beach with friends, all of them rubbing baby oil into their skin, which gives you a sense of how long ago it was, in search of the perfect tan. Another song, she says, takes her back to Sundays and walking hand in hand with her father to pick up copies of the New York Times. She concludes, if you ask me, music is the language of memory. From another source, we have Albus Dumbledore of Harry Potter fame, who says, music, a magic beyond any that we do here. For the ecologist Rachel Carson, it is the sense of smell, she says, almost more than any other, that has the power to recall memories. I have found this to be true. Some years back, I attended a Unitarian Universalist ministers conference in the California hills. Hiking far down a trail one morning, I found myself suddenly stopped still, just standing there, overcome by the scent of pines and California pepper trees, as an entire era of my childhood came rushing back. I grew up not far from there, and for a few years, beginning around 7th grade, we called those hills our own. On some Fridays, I'd say to my parents, I'm spending the weekend at Annette's house. And Annette would say to her parents, I'm spending the weekend at Carolyn's house. And so on until there were 3 or 4 of us. And then, of course, this was when things were, or seemed safer anyway. We'd hitchhike up into those hills and we'd camp out there for the whole weekend. And so it was, some 3 decades later, adrift in that smell of pine and California pepper trees. I didn't just remember my youth, it was as if I was young again, a little bit wild, and having the time of my life. Memory can do that for us, give us back the times of our lives. It is not exact, though. Memory is shaped by our experiences as we grow and change. It is formed to an extent by the culture, the language, the time and place in history. It is shaped by the ways of the people who were there with us and who go on to tell of it. Nor is memory confined to individuals. In its collective form, it includes and often serves the community in which it exists and beyond. In March, In March of 1965, our Unitarian Universalist Association, which if you're new, it's like our denomination. It was just not quite 4 years old. The Unitarians and the Universalists had merged when they received an urgent telegram from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was imploring clergy and church members to join him in Selma, Alabama, where African Americans marching for their right to vote had been viciously attacked by law enforcement. Some 500 Unitarian Universalists, including nearly 1/5 of all our ministers, traveled to Selma. 2 UUs were killed there, the Reverend James Reeb and Viola Liozu. Television covered the events extensively, though, which meant that nothing could fade into memory. And our country's response to it was to explode into outrage and action. It was just months later that the full Voting Rights Act was signed into law. Our people who marched with Dr. King helped to change this country. We inherit the memory of these people. We inherit the memory of their commitment and of their courage, and that is part of us still. I can put that another way. As anyone who has seen the film or the play The Lion King may recall, from the iconic scene where the main character, a young lion, has been feeling so lost and alone, until one dark night, helped by a friend, he sees above him, illuminated by the light of stars, his cherished but deceased father looking down at him. Simba says Mufasa, the father, in the singular booming voice of actor James Earl Jones, Simba, remember who you are. There are some tricks of memory that we don't understand fully until we have experienced them. Some years back, my daughter's longtime boyfriend lost his elder brother, as did his surviving siblings. His parents lost their beloved oldest child. It was sudden and traumatic. Now, this family held a deeply conservative Mormon faith, while I am a Unitarian Universalist, as are my kids. And while there is much I admire about their religious tradition, we UUs are not what anyone would call Mormon adjacent. Over the years of our teenagers dating, we, the parents, you will note, the parents, not the young people, we argued often, loudly, and bitterly. Once we got the news, my daughter and I flew to Washington State to be with the family as they buried their beautiful 22-year-old in a deluge of rain and sorrow. But I'll tell you, as we entered their church, so different from ours, the bitter words, those earlier differences seemed to just vanish as the memories surrendered to the primacy of grief, just surrendered to the far greater meaning of bringing compassion and bearing witness to such enormous loss. It is all we can do at such times, and it is everything. Our lives are built and changed and memorialized by how we live, by the company we keep, and more than anything else, by the love we offer and by the love we allow ourselves to receive. And this church, this faith, these people can help us. We Unitarian Universalists are known for our celebrations of life, the memorials that take place in our sanctuaries, our tradition of allowing there to be time in many of these services where anyone present may come up and tell a story about the person being remembered is common now, but this was not always so. Now, I can absolutely assure you, as a minister, that this business of offering up a live microphone to everyone in the congregation is not without risk. And yet you will find this practice now in so many faith traditions. Because when we invoke memory into the halls of sorrow, we lessen the force of grief to diminish us, and we increase the force of love to preserve, to comfort, to heal, and to save us. This is part of the soaring universalist message of old, the side of our faith tradition that believes no matter who we are or what aching, terrible loss we have endured or even caused, we are not meant to abide forever in the valley of the shadow of sorrow. Because love can save us and memory can return us to love. Sometimes for memory to take wing, all that is needed are a few words. a name or a place. Maybe I had a farm in Africa, or for some here, I had a church in Chapel Hill. Of course, some tricks of memory are harder to bear. And I think about regret here. You know, when we remember those things that we wish, often desperately wish, we'd done differently, usually long ago. Now, I think there's a lot that can be said about regret, probably a whole sermon, but we can't do that today, just one. And what I want to say, though, is how much I am moved by the words of John Prine and the fact that he learned mostly to let go of regret by the time he wrote, I Remember Everything. Do you know, it was the last song that he ever penned before he died of COVID at age 73. And maybe his words are enough for today. I remember everything, he says. My regrets are very few. Sometimes a little tenderness is the best that we can do. We can be tender with one another. We can be tender with our own memories and with ourselves. In perhaps its most painful trick, certainly its most detested, human memory can become diminished, hollowed out, as anyone who has loved a person with dementia knows too well. And yet, sometimes, even that is not all that there is. Superstar Bruce Springsteen tells how his mother, who battled Alzheimer's for more than a decade, lost nearly everything, but she never forgot how to dance. And so every time he went to visit her, Bruce would dance with her to the soundtracks of her life. And his mother loved it. She loved it, even when she no longer knew who her son was. And then there are the studies I came across from psychologists who were called in to memory care units and facilities in response to concerns from the staff about some of their older women patients. These women, like clockwork, it seemed, grew unsettled, even agitated sometimes. Most days of the week, around 3 in the afternoon. Eventually, what the psychologists came to understand was that these women were remembering somehow, though most of them could not articulate it, that school got out around 3 p.m., which meant they needed to be ready to meet the school bus or collect their children, and most of all, to be there to care for them. Now, lest you be younger and just sitting kind of pretty out there, it's not like there's a lower age limit for memory's tricks. I was a busy youngish mother some time back who also worked outside the home. So busy. When I got a call one Sunday afternoon from the church office manager. Now, I'd left right after the service that morning to go to a religious education meeting off-site and a lunch at someone's home, a few miles away. Carolyn, she asked over the phone, Carolyn, did you forget something at church? I don't think so, I said. Did I? Well, she said serenely, we do still have your children. Memory can also be, it can also be quite complex. In 2015, the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature was the Belarusian author Svetlana Alexievich for her book, Voices from Chernobyl, documenting the years after the nuclear disaster there. Alexievich is a journalist, and although her book reads very much like fiction, it is nonfiction. And never before had the Nobel Prize Committee recognized nonfiction as literature. Alexievich explains, journalism, she says, was not adequate to the intensity and the strangeness of Soviet and then post-Soviet reality. She spent a decade interviewing over 500 people who lived during that time and after. She wrote using both oral history as well as prose, her own prose, and then what other people wrote. This has come to be called a collective novel because on some level, it truly belongs to all the people who lived then. Alexievich notes everyone who was involved in Chernobyl had to turn into a philosopher because there was nothing in the human past that enabled us to deal with the situation. The Nobel Prize Committee has said that Alexievich's book exists now as a monument to suffering and to courage in our time, and as a monument to memory. Near the end of her autobiographical story, Karen Blixen wrote, "If I know a song of Africa, of the giraffe, and of the wide, light-filled sky, does Africa know a song of me? Does the air over the plain quiver with a color that I have worn? Or will the children invent a game that includes my name? Or will the eagles flying overhead, will the eagles in the highland look down for me still?" I suggest this morning that even as we age, even as our memories go the way of human imperfection, even as our days end as we know them, something of us lives on and is not forgotten. It lives on in the memory of those we have loved and who have loved us. It lives on in the air that we have breathed and the earth that we have walked upon and which has held us all these years. It lives on in the dreams and the hopes of those who stay behind. It lives on as the earth goes round and round, new lives are being born, and the stars go on, ever granting light to the darkness above. Our closing hymn this morning is in your gray hymnals. It's number 128, "For All That Is Our Life." Please rise in body or in spirit.
all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Please remain standing and join me in reading the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Let's show our appreciation for everybody that made this service possible. Now I have an invitation for y'all. This morning is the pumpkin pie extravaganza. I think maybe a little Texas came out there. Let me start. This morning is the pumpkin pie extravaganza. During the Sunday social right after the service. During the service, the children of the church baked enough pumpkin pie for everyone to have a piece. It's a holiday miracle. This is a beloved annual tradition at the church which began in the mid-1980s, and it's a gift made by our children for you. So please join us during coffee hour. Let's join hands or cross arms as we sing our closing song.